Like if you're playing a game, like for instance Black Ops 3 for example,
You keep saying like, but you're not comparing anything. It bugs me. Please stop.
like if you're playing a game, like for instance Black Ops 3 for example, at 60 frames a second, it's not bad.
Talk about one of the worst compliments you can give something. Well, what do you think about Hillary Clinton? Well, I mean, she's not, literally Hitler. I mean, she's not literally Hitler. I mean, the frame rate of Black Ops 3 on the console is not bad. That's the praise you're giving it, is not bad. Well, it's not bad. I mean, that's kind of like this. That's setting the bar pretty low, don't you think?
Like if you've ever played on PS4 or Xbox One, the game's not bad. Like the frame rate, the resolution is near perfect.
We went from not bad to near perfect in about 2 seconds. You have set the standard of perfection pretty darn low if you think the console can run anything nearly perfectly. But when you play on a game box that can only get 1080p and can only get 60 FPS, and rarely will those two things ever meet up, I guess it only makes sense that your standard would be much lower than a PC gamer's would be, wouldn't it?
It's just that when you compare it to PC 1080p 120 frames a second, it's so, well, it looks bad, but I don't get why it's that bad because it's not bad.
I don't even know where to begin. Oh my god.
It's just that when you compare it to PC 1080p 120 frames a second, it's so, well, it looks bad, but I don't get why it's that bad because it's not bad.
Okay, if you take take two games, and with all other things being equal, and they're not, but if you take these games, all other things being equal, and one runs at 120 FPS and the other runs at 60 FPS, the one that runs at 120 frames per second is objectively better. It is objectively better. You see twice as many pixels. You see twice as many everything. There is half as much input lag. There is half as much delay. It's better. It is physically, objectively, mechanically, technically better. Do not try and argue that 60 FPS is better than 120 FPS. You will be laughed out the door. The console version is bad in comparison because it is objectively an inferior version of the game, running on inferior hardware. Of course, in this video, you said that the human eye can't detect past 60 FPS, so, this is coming from a perspective of someone who actually thinks that, which is kind of ludicrous for someone to believe that. But even if you couldn't see the difference, then there would still be half the lag. There would still be half of that input delay. That means that you could perform better in the game. So whether or not you understand why it's worse is irrelevant, because it is an inferior version of the game to run at half the frame rate. You have clearly never played a video game at 120 frames per second. It is a joy.
So, a lot of PC players brag about that. Yeah.
No, I don't know. Tell me all about it, please.
It doesn't really matter, okay? 60 frames a second, 1080p is not bad.
Oh, we're back to not bad. It was near perfect a moment ago. Imagine a game reviewer who's reviewing a game, and during the article, he's constantly bouncing back between it's a 9 out of 10 and it's a 5 out of 10. It would be confusing. And again, it all is dependent on what you consider perfection, which for me, for a game, I would say there is no level of perfection. You could always have more pixels. You could always have more frames.
And considering most PCs nowadays, like most people have them, can't run 4K. Like 4K PCs are so expensive. And like newer games nowadays can run 4K, but the settings are so high. You have to have all these expensive specs. I mean, for a 4K PC, you would be running around at least over $1,500 for a 4K PC.
Oh, where to start? Well, this entire train of thought is irrelevant because the fact a PC would be more expensive if you're going to play games at 4K, not $1,500. Don't be ridiculous. Again, these console players are just snagging dollar amounts out of thin air. Just no rhyme or reason. They just snag a number that feels good or that sounds right to them, and they just run with it. But this train of thought here about the 4K, it's irrelevant. So what? All PCs can't do 4K. How does that pro console? So what if you want 4K, true 4K, on a PC, it'll cost you a bit more. Okay, how is that pro console? How is that pro the near perfection of Black Ops 3? How does that relate in any way towards this? Because it smells like a red herring to me.
and that's like bare minimum if you get some discounts to buy used parts. But you're looking at like $2,000 build, like $600 monitor, things of that nature. So it's so expensive.
Look, just, you don't know what you're talking about, okay? And it's okay to say, I don't know how much it would be, but it would probably be more expensive. And if you said that, you would be right. But you have decided that $1,500 is just the amount you're going to use for this made-up argument. It's $1,500 because I won't say, but it is. In any event, I decided to do what a lot of console advocates don't know how to do, and use Google. According to GameSpot's 4K benchmarks for the $389, again, $389 GTX 1070, it would, quote, it will be able to max out the majority of games with at least 30 FPS average. Again, under $400, and you can get a 4K card. As long as you don't expect 60 FPS, 4K resolution at ultra graphics, then yes, this card will work. But you said $1,500 minimum, so that leaves you $1,100 and a little change on the rest of the parts of your computer. So basically, the rest of your computer is going to be freaking amazing. See, it just took you a Google search. Well, it took me a Google search to look into this stuff, okay? Look, you don't have to snag random numbers out of the air. You can just look. 4K PC, just type in 4K PC build, and you can get answers. You don't have to make stuff up.
I got a stuffy nose. Now I'm going to go to my second topic is materials. Okay, when most people buy a console, like for instance myself, when I bought my PS4 a couple months ago, all I had to buy was the PS4. I had a TV, I had a chair, and I had a TV stand.
So you're saying consoles are better because you personally happen to have a lot of the things that are necessary to enjoy that console. Do I need to go into why this doesn't make any sense? I mean, I have a PC. I have 2 PCs in my house. So if I just bought a hard drive, a $70 hard drive, and all I could say was, see, to do high-end PC gaming, all you need is a $70 hard drive, because you just use what you have already in the house, which is, dual 980 Ti's and a big case and all these other SSDs and RAM and CPU and a motherboard. See, you just have it lying around the house, so all it takes to get into gaming, high-end gaming on the PC is a $70 hard drive. You see how that's not fair to say?
I was set. I could play my PS4. Obviously, I had to get games and things of that nature, but I was set.
So you weren't set, is what you're saying. I mean, yeah, all I did was buy the PlayStation 4, and bam, I was set. You know, except for those other things that I had to buy. But other than those things I had to buy, I was good to go.
If I was to buy a PC, I would have to buy a desk and chair.
I already have a desk and chair. I don't have to buy that.
Which most casual gamers don't have.
Who doesn't have a desk and a chair in their home?
I would have to buy a gaming monitor.
Why a gaming monitor? Why not just a normal monitor? That's fine for most people. Just a regular, normal, average, Insignia 60 hertz, normal, average, everyday monitor. You don't need to start off with fancy G-Sync and 1440p and 144 hertz and all that stuff. You don't need that. That's luxury.
I would have to buy the PC itself.
Well, yeah.
And I would probably have to buy a nice pair of like headsets or whatever, because I know most console headsets are not compatible with PC.
I don't know why you would buy a pair of headsets. Just buy one, okay? And 2, I didn't actually know if most console headsets could also be used with the PC. So I did something unbelievably crazy and outlandish, and I checked. So I went to Amazon, and I typed in Xbox One headset and PlayStation 4 headset. And I took the top 3, I assume they're most popular, most relevant items. So for the Xbox One, the number 1 most relevant item that was returned was Turtle Beach Ear Force Recon 50X stereo gaming headset. Sounds pretty extreme. I probably couldn't handle it. And it works with PC. Also works with other devices with 3.5mm jack, such as PS4, PC, Mac, other mobile tablet devices. Next up is the Afterglow Level 3 wired headset for Xbox One. And yes, this one also works with the PC. This one, the ASIN 201-30718, that really rolls off the tongue. Anyway, this also does work with the PC as well. What's really interesting is that this one here, this is the fourth one. I said 3, I lied, it's 4. Xbox One chat headset. Good name. This one has that weird jack that's supposed to go into your controller. Well, if you connect the controller to your PC, then this one also does work with the PC. So that's 4 for 4. The top 4 options, they all work with the PC. Huh. Okay. Let's move on to the PlayStation 4. PlayStation Gold wireless stereo headset. Yes. Adaptable audio. Connect wirelessly to your PS4, PS3, and home computer, or connect to your PS Vita system and blah, blah, blah. PC. There you go. Bam. Let's keep it rolling. A Funta gaming headset for PlayStation 4, PS4, tablet, PC, iPhone 6, 6S, blah, blah, blah. What do you know? I'm sensing a trend here. Bluefire gaming headset for PlayStation 4, PS4, tablet, PC, iPhone. Again, going straight down the list. 7 for 7. The most popular headsets from those searches that I did, they all worked with the PC as well. Every single one. 7 out of 7. But just to make sure, I called some Randy at GameStop.
Thank you for calling GameStop, where you buy, sell, trade, use games, electronics. This is Adam. How can I help you?
Hey, Adam, I have a question. My question is about headsets, and the question is, if I get a headset for my Xbox One or for my brother's PlayStation 4, will it also work with my PC?
Well, see, that's kind of tricky, because some PCs require that you have the additional microphone cable also plugged in. And some of the headsets, it doesn't actually come with that.
All right, I understand that the microphone won't work without the jack sometimes. But this was just for the headset. I don't need a microphone. This is just for listening to stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say about 90% of them out there should work fine.
Alrighty. Thanks. Excellent. I just wanted to make sure. I'll go ahead and double check that they do before I take a look at them. So thanks a whole bunch.
No problem. You have a great day.
Ciao.
Because I know most console headsets are not compatible with PC.
So when you say I know, what you really mean is I have no idea. I'll just make something up and hope somebody doesn't check. When you say I know something and then it turns out you don't know anything about that, it kind of tarnishes your reputation. Because now, I mean more so than before, anything that comes out of your mouth, we can't just take on faith. Well, he says he knows this. Well, he said he knew something else, and it was a complete lie, a total fabrication that could be easily checked. And you just had to go on Amazon. You just had to call GameStop. You just had to do anything. Just the tiniest iota of research. That's the tiniest, just a couple Google searches. If I'm not certain about something, I Google it. I check. I double check. I recheck just to make sure.
So I would have to buy all that stuff. $800 for the PC.
All right, it's $700 to $800 now. We've moved the goalpost.
Another $300 for the desk and chair.
Wow, that is a really nice desk and chair. Why not get something a little cheaper and more utilitarian?
I would have to buy that gaming monitor.
Again, no you wouldn't. A regular, normal, average, everyday, run-of-the-mill computer monitor will do just fine for you. If you want something fancier or better or more expensive, you have the option to spend that money, but it's by no means a necessity. That's like saying, well, for console gaming, I have to buy a 72-inch ultra-wide 4K curved television. Well, you don't. You just have the option to spend that money if you so desire. It would be disingenuous for me to say you need that to play console games.
Mouse and keyboard, I forgot about that. Maybe $50 to another $100 on a nice Razer mouse and keyboard. It's so expensive.
Then don't buy a fancy Razer or a fancy Logitech or anything like that. Just buy a normal keyboard and a mouse. What, there's $20. Assuming you don't already have one lying around. This person assumes that if you want to play on PC gaming, you have to buy peripherals that have the word gaming in front of their names. Oh well, let's wrap this up in part 3.